We decided that with this Apple II might just be the makings of a big seller. We might have a product that we could sell thousands a month instead of 10 a month. And we decided we needed a company, not a partnership. And a company means you got chairs and telephones. So we decided we're going to set up a real corporation. Well, there's a problem. You start thinking a number like 1,000 computers. We could sell. Steve Jobs was doing all the marketing out of his home. He was running the whole company, doing all the scheduling, getting the parts. I was just designing stuff at night and designing day and night, I should say. But I also worked for Hewlett Packard. I was moonlighting. We couldn't pay ourselves salaries. I had to moonlight from Hewlett Packard. Steve lived with his parents. He didn't need the income. We couldn't pay ourselves salaries from the Apple I. We wanted to build 1,000 Apple IIs, but they cost $250 each to build. How do you get $250,000? You know, when you have to pay cash at your apartments. Well, it turns out that we started looking around for venture capital, and Steve checked with some friends at Atari, and they led him to one connection after another. We talked to them in the garage. The best thing that I could come up with was a very intuitively right sense, but it has no meaning in the business world. My feeling was, look, there are over 1 million ham radio operators, and computers are more popular than ham radio, so the market's going to be more than 1 million units. That was how I came up with my market estimate. There is no way in the world that something that absolutely right could be wrong. There is no way. No, it was true, because I had been a ham radio operator, and I knew the connection. But that's one way of thinking that doesn't have rules that you're taught in business school. We had trouble getting money. We finally ran into Mike Markkula. And he had retired at a fairly young age from Intel. He had a good stock option there. He made his $1 million, so he got out of the rat race, but he kept paying attention to electronics. One dream of his life had been computers in the home, to store recipes on, of course. But it had been a dream in his life. Anyway, he looked at the Apple II, and he was going to first at least he portrayed that he was just helping us write a business plan, and he knew who to give it to get more money. He knew some venture capital people. How would he go about it? He was only trying to help. The guy was so pure and sincere. He was not the sort of person who just goes in and takes advantage of young, naive kids who don't know anything about business. He finally started realizing that the analysts were predicting a new market was going to blossom and go from $0 to billions of dollars in a few-year period. Only when new outlets and new distribution channels, new stores are coming up that don't already have connections with companies that are supplying them products for their bread and butter revenues is a chance that a new company can come in and not nick away a percent at a time of the business, but can grow at the same rate. You can grab a good percentage of a market and grow at the rate of the market if you do everything right in marketing terms. And he was a marketing person. So he finally wasn't going to let any venture capital get this deal. He wanted to buy in as a third partner. And he was going to have 20%, and Steve and I would each have 26%, and the rest would be divvied up to other employees. So he loaned us the $250,000. Just basically in one day, just loaned it over. He trusted the product was that good. He went down with me to Intel's executive staff to show it off, and he was very proud of it. He told me that there was one little hedge, I'd have to quit HP and make Apple 100% of my life. And I said, wait a minute, in less than a year I designed the Apple I, the Apple II, I wrote a BASIC, I wrote 2 monitors, I wrote all these demonstrations, I designed cassette interfaces, printer interfaces. I said, I did all this stuff nights, part-time, highly motivated. I could still keep my job at HP for a while for security. And Mike said, no, you gotta leave HP. And he gave me a date that I had to make a decision. And I thought about it. Boy, I had things pulling me both ways, and I finally decided I was gonna stay at HP. And I told him that on the ultimatum date. And Steve got a little bit panicky, and he got all my relatives and friends to start phoning me. And eventually they talked me out of it, because really I realized when one friend, good friend at Apple, that had actually helped me on part of the Apple design, he worked at Hewlett Packard, and he basically said something to me that it clicked. I can remain an engineer my whole life. I don't have to feel obligated to go into management to become rich. I can feel like I'm going to be an engineer and just do all the engineering I want to do, even on the side. My projects will be as good as I ever wanted to do them. And in the meantime, I can have a company and try to turn it into revenues and dollars. And I don't have to go into be a management and a company runner and a businessman in that sense. So I finally turned around and said, okay,